brand new Dolce Gabbana Devotion Pour Homme. Let's talk about it. What's going on, guys? My name is Neeb. Welcome back to AROMATIX. Today we're going to be talking about the latest release from Dolce Gabbana, and it's been quite some time. Aside from their luxury line, the whole Velvet Zafrano, I got to go to that event. It was phenomenal. It was a great experience to actually understanding the fragrance in itself and smelling all the raw ingredients and finding out what goes on behind the scenes. Velvet Infusion and Velvet Zafrano are two of the fragrances that I think were super sexy. By the way, Infusion has like this vetiver, citrus, and black tea, very natural smelling black tea. And they actually use essential oils from Italy of black tea, if I'm not mistaken. Oh, damn. Currently at the car wash, and they just wrote down my numbers, which is 666. But it is what it is. Anyways, so the tea note that's in Velvet Infusion, I think it might be of Asian descent, if I'm not mistaken, not from Italy. And Alex Lee, which is their master perfumer, did a fantastic job. They also have a pretty decent dose of ambroxan. It's just very fresh, citrus forward with a lot of that vetiver nuance. And it kind of reminds me of like Imagination meets Terre d'Hermès, but in every good way. Citrus and very crystallized and ambroxan and room filler, really. So the next fragrance. So back on topic with Devotion Pour Homme. I was pretty excited to see this one come out, and I grabbed it almost immediately. I purchased it from Macy's for around $134 for this size right here. It was not sent to me. I paid with my own money and had it shipped out. And the reason I was excited about this one is because the original ones were for women, and it was lemon pound cake vibes with a little bit of rum. It was lemon, cakey, vanilla, a beautiful scent profile, also long lasting. And it kind of reminded me or danced in a vein of another niche fragrance that I had, which is Xerjoff Lyra. But it was a lot more wearable. There's less of like this rind vibe to the Devotion, and I think it was fantastic. So Devotion started my addiction with the whole Devotion series, the original one, obviously, and I grabbed the Intense, which was a more ambery and rich scent profile, but did seem to increase a little bit more on the florals as well. So the original, while it might be feminine fragrance, leaning towards obviously the feminine side of things, I rocked it and I got compliments while rocking that fragrance. Believe it or not, I do get frequently compliments because people know me as a fragrance person. I go to the gym every day and I'm wearing a fragrance every single day. So no, unfortunately, in a perfect world, not many people actually get compliments that much, but when you're in a city or in an area where people know you as that, and you also have a pretty likable personality, I'd like to think so at least, then you're more than likely going to get compliments. It definitely starts though with personality and approachability first. Should we get we're getting the tire shine today. Wait, what? Oh, I already got a receipt. I like this number more. It's 178 instead of the 666. Back to the actual Devotion for women, I still find that it leans too feminine, even for me personally. So when I got an announcement or saw that this was coming out for men in my new fragrances coming out video, I was pretty excited, and I didn't know where they would take it. I was hoping something that's still pretty similar to the whole lemon pound cake vibe, just maybe a little bit more masculine, woody, etc. And we ended up with this fragrance. So I saw the notes initially before picking this up, and they only gave us coffee, patchouli, and lemon. And so I expected the same candied lemon, maybe with that woody and earthy undertone as I was expecting they would do initially. But it actually turned out to be something I was not expecting at all. And in fact, because of that, I was a little like turned off initially. I sprayed it or I smelled it and I was like, this isn't Devotion? Wait, what? This is coffee. It's a lot of coffee. And yeah, that's the truth. However, it didn't stop there. And I knew right away that like I have to wear this fragrance first, because yes, I was expecting that lemon pound cakey vibe, just done in a more masculine way. But after 2 days of fully wearing this fragrance, and this is why it's so important to, you know, really live with the scent, to wear it, to give it a full opportunity, I fell in love with this. I actually really like this. Now, in terms of the scoring, we'll give it a score at the end of the video. Now, in terms of how close this gets to the original Devotion, I would say it's not that close. In fact, if anything, it's like 35% close to the original Devotion, and one of which commonalities between them both is going to be the candied lemon. That's pretty much it. But the heart and the center of the fragrance is going to be the coffee and patchouli. The coffee in itself reminds me of a pretty gourmand, or not gourmand, I should say, gourmet style of coffee, specifically Kopi Luwak. And Kopi Luwak is very expensive in Asia, and it comes from a civet. The civet is, by the way, I'm not joking, this is actually something that's top tier, you guys, when it comes to coffee. The civet in itself eats the coffee beans, and then they excrete the coffee beans, and then it's fermented in a way. It's cleansed, it's cleaned, and then it kind of creates like this more earthy undertone style of coffee that's very rich, very bold. Don't knock it until you try it. But aside from that, the scent profile is amazing. There's absolutely nothing fecal to this or animalic at all, but rather it's even more earthy and rich in coffee than coffee note on its own. And it's more than likely because of the combination of that patchouli along with coffee, and they only give us the 3-note breakdown, but that's definitely going to be the star in this one. And coming from Dolce & Gabbana, specifically designers, even designers in general, you guys, this is pretty testy and polarizing, and I have to tip my hat off to them for their creation department for, releasing something that's this creative and that's this challenging and testy. Now, with that being said, there's going to be a lot of people that initially sniff it or, get polarized to the point where they don't enjoy it, and I can understand that. But for creativity and for for uniqueness, this deserves its respect. Now, the coffee and the patchouli reminds me of the intensity, I would say. It smells absolutely nothing like what I'm about to reference, but just think about those fragrances that people, kind of overshadowed and overlooked until they got discontinued. Think Thierry Mugler, pure coffee, how rich it was. It was a very rich and tarry style of coffee and tonka bean that Mugler does. Now, this one smelling nothing like that, and in fact, a little bit more wearable and more versatile because of certain fresh aspects, still had a certain level of creativity similar to those Muglers. And so with that being said, we ended up with fragrances that were borderline niche at designer levels that was still more mass appealing than something that was just straight up like the most bold and intense and, animalistic coffee. Now, back to the scent profile, it's more than just coffee. It's not just coffee and earth. There is like a pretty decent dose and undertone of that candied lemon and a very mild dose of some vanilla. And honestly, what it ends up smelling like is like breakfast of like a lemon meringue pie, maybe not meringue pie, just a lemon pound cake with a side and a cup of the most exotic, or I should say the most robust black coffee. And to me, you guys, that's amazing. And it smells just like that, and it's very intense and bold, and it translates into its performance. Now, with the performance for this one, I didn't get less than 8 hours, up to 10 hours, especially on clothing, and its projection was solid for 2.5 hours. Let's go through this car wash, and we'll finish it at the end of the car wash, shall we? But before I tell you any more, I wanted to let you know that my fragrances aromatics are now available on jomashop.com, and they're currently shipping out today. So get your bottles while supplies last. And also, here are some codes if you want to save some cash on fragrances. I hardly ever buy anything retail unless it's brand new, and usually within 3 to 4 months. I regret it because it ends up on one of these sites, and you can use one of these codes to get your Middle Eastern niche fragrances or designers for less than retail. Now back to the video. About to go get this workout in, some pre-workout. This was my scent of the day twice for the gym. And now here we are. And so, long story short, lemon pound cake on the side of a freshly brewed, extremely rich dark coffee. That's it. That's what it smells like. I don't think it's a safe blind buy, just because it's very polarizing and rich in every good way. And that's a compliment. That's genuinely a compliment. I love what Dolce did here, and I think it deserves credit. In an era where we have a lot of simplistic fragrances, people are like, oh, this is boring and this is that. And now we have an era of just like rich and testy, and we're going back to more interesting fragrances. So I love the balance and blend that they're doing here. They offered us the Velvet Infusion not long ago from their more private line that was fresh and zesty, and now this one, which is more polarizing and testy from a designer line. So if you like coffee, I highly recommend you check this one out. Final score and rating for this, it's an 8.75. It's very different and in every good way. And although different and polarizing, still very easy to wear, still pretty damn versatile. I would say just keep it away from the summertime and maybe spring nights. Cooler weather, it's gonna do absolutely better, and it's a lot more versatile than just a cup of coffee. That lemon does give it a little bit of freshness, but for the most part, it's gonna be a candied lemon vanilla cream with that rich, bold black coffee and undertone of woods. The funny part about this fragrance is very similar to how I felt about Devotion, the original, although being unisex, leaning towards a feminine side of things. I feel like a woman who likes a good coffee scent can pull this off very easily. So just as that was unisex leaning feminine, this is, in my opinion, unisex leaning masculine. So ladies who like a good coffee and patchouli style scent, check this one out. Like Coffee Break by even Replica, for example, is not as, how can I say, polarizing, but in every good way. I like a good, unusual fragrance that is polarizing, because at that stage, you end up, number one, getting something that nobody else will smell like, and sometimes you get hurt in the versatility department. This one's still maintaining some versatility, but you also stand out and it becomes really addicting. Those unusual fragrances are usually very addicting and compliment worthy. Let me know what you guys think about Dolce really going into something a little bit more challenging and testy, and just challenging and testy fragrances overall. I feel like a lot more people nowadays are getting into more basic fragrances, and they're itching for a little more. And in the past, a lot of these rich style fragrances that used to be more polarizing and challenging and testy, similar to this, have been discontinued. And we've been getting a lot of blues and stuff. But lately, with all the elixirs and all that good stuff, we've been getting some raunchy and very intense stuff. If you like the elixir vibes, man, this is like Dolce & Gabbana's elixir, basically. Check this one out. That's pretty much it. Hope you guys enjoyed watching this video. My name's Neeb. Thank you for tuning back in Aromatics, and I'll see you in the next one. Peace.